What you should have done is you should have played Jack Jones with the Impossible Dream.
So from which list?
It went on.
Pardon?
Yes, you're so
Not yet.
like the Rosners. Oh my God. That's what you said.
It does seem to be that there are lots of mysteries in the family. It does seem to be that a lot of the family members were secretive and we don't know all that went on.
There we go.
Yeah. And we are trying to unravel some of the stories.
So if you know any, tell us.
And I think when Tina does her presentation, and we really have to thank Tina for all the work that she has done researching all of them. That really deserves a round of applause. And Linda.
And B. Merkel in California.
She's on the wall.
No, she's not coming.
Move the table back.
Are we on the back a little bit?
That's that.
That's it. That's it.
Tell me if I'm on your toes.
No, you can move back.
All right, Gina.
Arnold.
Singapore.
This is the arrow.
Production.
This is the arrow. Okay. Are we ready to begin?
Can you take over for just 1 second while I take a picture? Sorry? Just take over. Just face up there.
To Mavis, who made it work, Cheryl, Robin, and his grandfather Israel, also known as Israel. However, on the ship's manifest it said Solomon. Same person. Born approximately 1851, died in 1930. We know where his gravestone is. I have a photograph of it in the cemetery in Montreal. And here is the other information that we have. If there are any errors, please point them out to us.
I think the name where you have 1851 Pietra Nantes, it's not, it doesn't end with a T. I believe it must be either TZ,
Actually,
TS.
today, there's no Z.
No Z?
No Z.
Not today.
Because it's pronounced
Next
most
slide.
of the time by
Yes.
Yams.
Yes. In my computer program, which was called Reunion 9, this is the way I set up the pages. I decided to take an earlier photograph of Sarah Rebecca rather than the one in her 90s when she had no teeth. And my mother, Gertie Rosner Stark, and her grandmother, her mother, Bessie, told me that Grandma Rebecca did not like to wear her sheitel. She only wore it for funerals and weddings. She liked to sit and rock. And curse Yiddish. She had a lot of Yiddish expression. And she liked to darn. She darned socks with 6 needles over a yurtzeit glass. And the socks were made out of wool. She also knit blankets for the fair, for the horse, because they were peddlers. So the horse needed a blanket to stay warm in the winter. In later life, they did not live together. This gentleman, Israel, I understand a lot of the descendants copied some of his traits. He was a dandy, according to Sidney Kopolovich. He told us he was a dandy. He liked to keep an eye on the women. He loved to see ankles. If he saw an ankle, he blushed. It made him very happy. Sarah did not live with him for the last 10 or so years of their marriage. She lived with her daughters. So sometimes she lived with Sophie, and she loved to live with Cyril. Who else's grandmother did she live with?
She
Anyone
lived with
want to tell
Annie
some
for a little
stories?
bit.
Yeah.
She lived with Annie, but just for a short
She lived
time.
with Annie for a short time. So Ethel was first born. We don't know a lot about her. I did speak to her grandson, Alec, who lives in Beverly Hills, California. He is a prestigious attorney, a law firm, and his second wife told me all about the first wife. And the first wife told me all about Alec. Of course, their 2 children are named Alec and Ethel. And I had a lot of fun with that. There's my grandma, Bessie, and my grandpa, David Stark, and of course, his great-grandson is named David Stark. No middle name. She married again, and when you look at the copy of the family tree that I will each give you, or send you on a CD, or via email on You Send It, or a flash drive if you have one, you will see a little red triangle. It means they were married again. I like what Linda and Mavis did. They, on the chart back here, it says that they were remarried, and I prefer that to just a little carrot. So Bessie was remarried, and his name was Yellow Gold. And he was married several times. It was the style and the habit in the 1800s and early 1900s, if a man died, which they often did, women got married immediately, as soon as possible. Most often because they were carrying a child, and they needed to feed their children. So you will see under Annie Rosner, if you look on the chart, several marriages. And this Sam Rosner, he was the tallest, handsomest man in the family. There were two brothers, Sam and David. Sam is pictured in the wedding photo, and you will see all of his descendants. If I have any errors, please point them out to me. If anyone would like to tell us any stories about Annie or Sam,
I would like to know how you determined or who told you that she had died in 1939.
Okay, I read the census reports of the 1910, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and ships manifests and border crossings. So I can tell you every time that Annie crossed the border to visit someone in the United States, or went from Toronto to Montreal. I can tell you when Cyril's granddaughter had a baby, or when they went to a funeral.
Right.
Everything.
I'm not questioning.
We don't even know how old she was.
Okay,
Well,
but what I'm
Arlene
questioning.
and I are named after her, Audrey and Arlene, but we know nothing about.
Excuse me,
Well,
Tina.
you know what? Probably Tina is going to Montreal. You can research when you go to
Yeah, but-
Montreal.
Okay,
Tina?
There's a Barrington
okay.
Hearst
Sorry,
Cemetery.
Tina?
Need that chair.
Tina?
Okay, just get me another.
We'll get the dates eventually.
So there's a
Get the
Barrington
dates
Hearst
around.
Cemetery to the
Okay.
Savannah.
Yeah, Tina. Can I interject for a second? It is my understanding that probably at the time, not probably, but at the time that this lady died, she was not married to Sam Rosner. She had left him for many years prior to that.
I believe it.
And that's what happened. She had left him, and therefore that is the reason why many of the people here do not know anything about her, because
But
that
her gravestone.
it may be on her
You talking about
gravestone.
Annie, or you talking
Okay.
about Sally?
Annie Weinstein.
Okay.
All right,
They don't
she's
know
married
anything
to
about her
Sally.
because
She said nothing.
she was a black mark on the name of the family, in my
All right,
opinion,
let's not
and
go
that was
into that
hidden.
right now.
Okay,
Skip
yeah,
that.
I'm
Let's
named
go on
after
to
her.
Thibodeau, or David. My grandmother called
That
him
wasn't good.
Thibodeau.
Hey,
No, I understand that, but
Is
that's,
there anyone who would like to tell us something about David? Thanks to these beautiful photographs that were sent to me. Anyone from Thibodeau's?
Me?
Come on, Mavis, tell us something about your grandfather.
Well, unfortunately, the poor man died in 1937, so he was the first of the 9 siblings to pass away. And, you know, my father was quite young when that happened. My mother never met her father-in-law, who would have been her father-in-law, so we don't know a lot about him. But every time I look at Lenny Stinsky, I think I see my grandfather.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there's a resemblance. I think they're both very handsome, erect men, tall and erect.
Oh, wrong now. Wrong now.
From the
Wrong word.
grandfather.
Wrong word. But that's that posture that apparently
Yeah.
both brothers were well known for.
Upright.
He was a shoe merchant. He was a peddler. He worked very hard to provide for his family. He lived in a lot of different places, not long in Montreal. And
And your grandmother died in Ottawa?
and his wife died 2 months after I was born in 1946.
And is her name Rose Rose?
Her name was Rose Rose. She started life as Rose Greenberg. Then she became Rose Rosner. And then when my grandfather briefly changed his name to Rose, she became Rosie Rose, and she stayed that way. He went back to Rosner, but my father and my uncle stayed Rose.
And Eve's mother's name was Rose Rose.
Rose Rose.
All right, and here's Cyril, also known as Tilly, or Sarah. She had many names, but her children and grandchildren would like us to call her Cyril. And here we have Sophie, twin of Molly. And if anyone